guys are grizzlies and tigers, baby. We animals and we don't lose. We give you the blues when you come to us. Be ready for war, we lacing up. You better bring a whole army with you, cause the Memphis here, we don't play a bluff. This Memphis do, we ain't come to lose. We here to win, pay your dues. Otherwise, I got bad news. What you came to do? Get them boys the blues. 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 What you came to do? Get them boys the blues.
Hello, Memphis fans, and welcome to the Point Podcast. I'm your host, Wes Pruitt. Hope everyone is doing well. Got my man, Christian Johnson, over here on this side, back with us. We're going to have Jason Patterson come in as well. Christian, it's all Tiger Talk here on the Point Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the show. We're going to talk a little bit of Tiger baseball, Christian, talk a little bit of Tiger softball. And then it's tournament time right now around the country. As we know, March Madness is upon us. 4-Star Sports Media is bringing you coverage of the men's and women's American Athletic Conference basketball tournament through access that we've been granted through their media department. And, Christian, it's been a good tournament so far on the women's side. We'll get to that shortly. But, Christian, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's that time of year. The weather's warming up. Things start to heat up. You got March Madness coming up. Baseball's obviously going on right now. We're still a ways out on football, but like you said, you got baseball, softball, basketball. A lot to get into.
Man, there really is, man. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's talk a little Tiger baseball. The Memphis Tiger baseball team, coached by first-year head coach Carrick Jackson, started off the season really well. Went into this past weekend with they were 8-2 going into the weekend, and you really wanted to see them knock off Nichols, but they didn't. And you come back and you win the first game, and then you lose the second two, losing that Saturday game, giving up the game on 2 consecutive walks. Really hurt, and then they got smacked around Sunday by Nichols. But right now they're taking on Louisiana Monroe down in down in Monroe, Louisiana. Currently top of the 4th. Tigers and Warhawks are tied at 1. Christian, we all know in the college baseball world that first-year head coach, there's a lot of hiccups. Carrick Jackson's come in and done a really good job. This team plays really good defense. They can score runs, but over the weekend, they looked rough.
Yeah, I've kept up with them some. They, like you said, they were 8-2 heading into the Nichols series, and you thought that they would probably be able to at least take 2 or 3, but it had a tough loss. I think they lost it in the 9th inning. They had like a 3 or 4 run lead or something like that, and let that game get away from them, and then obviously lost the series the next day. I mean, it's tough. It's tough in baseball, especially on those road trips. I know they're kind of making their way through Louisiana right now. They got ULM right now as we speak, so I don't think that'll be an easy game for them. But like you said, 8-4 right now is a pretty good mark at this point in the season for a Memphis Tiger baseball team who has struggled recently in years past. So they got a new coach. I know Memphis fans are excited about him, just to have a new face for the program and try to see if things can get turned around. And I think, for the most part, you probably are, Wes, are happy at where they are right now. 8-4 is nothing to be ashamed about at this point in the season. You'd like to see what they do when it comes to conference play, and if they can win most of their conference games, sneak into a regional.
Yeah, I mean, what Coach Jackson's done is he's done a really good job of bringing in local talent. He's also brought in a lot of transfers, Kristen. Seen a couple guys coming over from Mississippi State, another guy from LSU, a couple
That's
guys
like
off compete.
that's
Yeah, I mean, when you're going and you're pulling those guys, man, it really does. It helps boost your program at a quicker level.
yeah, it does. And I mentioned the goal for Memphis probably is just to improve each year. But if you can see a drastic improvement year one under a new coach, you'll take that any day. Like I said, the goal is obviously to make the postseason. I don't know when the last time Memphis actually made the postseason. I'm sure it's been a little while. I could be wrong about that, but right now, if this new coach is able to get them into the postseason, I think you'll take that any day. We've still obviously got a long season to go. A lot can happen. Things can change very quickly in baseball. You lose a couple key guys, or just things don't go your way for a while. It can snowball if you let it. So, but like I said, it's kind of like the basketball. Well, the basketball team's really doing well. The baseball team seems like it's moving in the right direction. And I know the softball team, which we'll get into soon. The record isn't where even close to where you'd like to see it. It's terrible, but you seem to have confidence in what they're doing there, despite the record.
Yeah, man, that's a great segue into our next topic, actually. The Tiger softball team under also first year head coach. Stephanie Prothro was the pitching coach down in Alabama. So she's got some winning pedigree to her, doing very similar to what Jackson's doing. A lot of the local kids, she's taking the roster that she came in with and doing what she can. They're 2-15 currently, which is not the best.
There's no way you can slice it. It's not good at all.
It's not, but
you're
what
seeing you're still seeing improvement that wasn't there.
you are, and I mean they've got Youngstown State coming to town for a midweek series tomorrow. Youngstown State's 4-8. I think it's a really good opportunity for Memphis to get a nice win. But if you look at what they did last week in the Blue City Classic, yes, they finished 0-3. But if you look at the games they played, there was fight. They're hitting home runs. They're getting excited about playing the game of softball.
They're laying down. They're competing. You like to see that. Now, obviously, you'd like to see that eventually start translating into wins. But I think you said it. What was it on the last show? The first season with a new coach, I don't want to say you get a pass, but you kind of are just seeing where you are as a program, what you need to work on. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, but I don't think the program was in great shape before this new coach got there. You'll take a little bit of a rough season, especially in her first season, but year two is where you would hope to see improvement. The season's obviously still pretty young, but at 2-15, that's tough to come back from. If you're looking to make any type of noise in the postseason, but if that's not your goal, then 2-15, you'll take that right now.
I mean, 2-15 is not a good record. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But what I said last week, and great point, that first year, in my opinion, and this is the same way with the baseball program. That first year is all about analyzing. It's all about analyzing what the program is, really and truly, what you've got on the field versus what you saw on paper when you got there. I understand you've been through practice, you've watched, you've seen things of that nature, but you really don't know till you're in these pressure cooker type situations with your program. What both of these coaches are doing is they're building a foundation for what's to come. They're getting their program set up for the future. And yes, they're 2-15, but there's talent there, and the girls are having fun. And I mean, when I see that and I watch this team play, there's fight there. They're not giving up.
You want to lay a foundation. You want to build the right culture. Eventually, you'll see the wins start to come. That doesn't happen overnight. I mean, obviously, you've got to have the drive, win. Everyone wants to win, but you don't build a winning culture just like that. I mean, it just takes a little bit of time, and as long as the coaches want to win, which I know everybody does, they have a plan. Um, things will eventually start to go your way if you're doing things the right way. Now, if you're not doing things the right way, obviously, if you keep having 2-15 seasons to start the year, it probably won't, it won't last long. But like I said, it's the first year. Um, you know, just kind of wait and see how things play out at this point. You would like to see them fight back though, and kind of tally up some wins. You don't want the season to kind of spin out of control.
Yeah, you really don't. And I mean, you got Youngstown State coming in. They're 4-8 on the season. I think this is a great opportunity for this team to get a win tomorrow, and really gain some confidence moving forward for this program in her first season.
You want to see them win some series too, though. I mean, it's one thing to get a win, but you you learn more about your team when they're able to battle and get those series wins. So, that's kind of what Memphis fans. I would think that's kind of the goal right now. Take those small victories while you can get them.
Exactly right. Get as many small victories as you can, because eventually those small victories are going to turn into a big one. Christian, we're going to take a quick break, man. When we come right back, we're going to dive into the Memphis tournament talk that's going on down in Fort Worth, Texas. But we'll be right back here on the Point Podcast on the 4 Star Sports Radio Network.
Wow.
Welcome back to the Point Podcast, where we talk all things Memphis sports. Got Christian Johnston in here with me tonight. Christian, it's now time to talk NCAA tournament and conference tournament for this Memphis Hoops team. Both men's and women's team are both number 2 seeds in the tournament. I believe that it's the first time that it's ever happened. We're going to start. I'll tell you what. Let's start with the men's. Memphis had an absolute battle with Houston over the weekend. Lost 67-65 on a buzzer beater to end the game. Christian, they come in 2 seed. Their next game is going to be either against number 7 UCF or number 10 SMU.
They'll either one of those opponents they should easily handle. I mean, if you look at how the season's gone, with the exception, I think, of Tulane, I think they pretty much handled the teams that they should beat. And when we talk about the Houston game, that was a very intense, big time game. I mean, nationally that was a big game. You got the 2 best teams in the American Conference. Obviously Houston leaving the conference. Memphis, was ready for that game. The fans were were showing out for it. Houston's a great team. I mean, they really are. So the way that Memphis was able to battle to the very end, it looked like at certain points in that game that it might get away from them, but they were able to battle their way back against a really good Houston team who's going to be a number 1 seed in the tournament and has as good of a shot as anybody to win the entire tournament. So I think you can be very encouraged about the way that you played. If you're Memphis, you could have won the game. It just didn't happen. Like I said, I think you can be very you're playing good basketball to end the year. I don't think a loss to the number 1 team is going to necessarily hurt confidence in any way. So, should be able to do some damage in the American tournament, if not win the whole thing. You'll probably end up playing Houston again, if I had to guess, in the final game, and that'll be on a neutral court, so anything can happen. Memphis could easily come away with the conference championship, and they'll be hot going into the tournament if they're able to do that. So yeah, just kind of wait and see with the men's. I mean, they're in good shape right now. They're locked for the NCAA tournament. They're, I said this on the previous show. They're not a team you look at and you're like, I want to play Memphis. They're a team that you're trying to stay away from in the bracket.
Oh, 100% right. No question about it. When you look at the Memphis Tiger basketball program, there's not too many teams in the country that are like, yeah, let's go line up against those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it last week, Christian. The job Penny Hardaway did. You look, just a few days ago, he was named a finalist for National Coach of the Year. So the job he's done is incredible. Kendrick Davis was just named Sportsman's All-American. He joins one of 4 players ever to garner that for Memphis. So, I mean, you look at these guys, they're balling out, they're playing good basketball, they're playing together. And come Friday night, 6 p.m. on ESPNU, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
And, I keep up with basketball. I don't just watch my favorite teams. I try to keep up with basketball. I keep up with everybody. Memphis, there's not a lot of weaknesses with Memphis. I mean, you look at their record and you're like, man, they lost some games in a weak conference, but I'm telling you, the American is better than people think. It really is. It's not like you can just line up against everybody and win every game. It's a tougher conference than people like to admit. But once the NCAA tournament comes around, Memphis, they match up well against. There's not a team they just don't match up well against because, I mean, if you look at their players, I mean, look at the teams they've played this year. I mean, just look at that, and then look at how they did against those teams. I mean, they took 2 number 1 seeds to the wire. Alabama in
Tuscaloosa, and then they just did it. Well, I mean, really, they took Houston to the wire there this year, and then they took them to the wire here.
Yeah. So if you look at that, just those 2 games alone, I mean, you could almost make a case for them to be a dark horse, national championship. If you're just going based on that, obviously the tournament, everybody's good. Everybody, you'll see upsets, but I just think the way Memphis is, they don't really, they kind of see themselves, I think, as the underdog. So that keeps them, motivated and ready to play. And I think they're one of those teams that could make a run. And I don't just say that about every team, I actually think that with Penny Hardaway, who's a really good coach, he's starting to prove it. He is starting to prove it. I think, man, I'd much rather be, a Memphis fan right now than an Arkansas fan, which I say that, but I'd rather be in their position right now is what I'm saying. I wouldn't rather be a Memphis fan, but I'd rather be in their position. They're a lot for the tournament. They seem to be gelling at the right time. For the most part, I don't think there's a lot of, key injuries that they're dealing with. I think they're probably just about over all those. So, man, this conference tournament coming up, there is a lot to play for, not just the conference tournament, but you want to gain some more momentum going into the NCAA tournament. If you're able to get a rematch with Houston and beat them, I mean, that would be humongous going into the tournament with confidence being sky high.
I mean, think about it, man. You knock off the number one team in the country on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
That selection committee has to take notice of that
Oh,
immediately.
yeah.
But Christian, there's 2 tournaments going on right now. Go ahead.
What's the sense right now with Memphis fans on kind of what seed they might get in the tournament? Or what seed is there
I am scouring the prediction boards, or the projections, I should say. I have seen 4 that have Memphis as an 8 seed and Arkansas as a 9 seed. Right now, Memphis is hovering anywhere between a 7 seed and a 9 seed.
Yeah, I was talking about Memphis. As an Arkansas fan, I've said this recently. I just want to get in the tournament. The way they're playing right now, I mean, I will say this in defense of Arkansas. You know, the last 3 teams they played are no slouch. I mean, people want to act like that they're just 3 terrible losses. I think, you know, as Arkansas fans, you expect to win those games, even though as fans we expect to win them. But realistically, you went to Tennessee, to Alabama, and then Kentucky's playing as good as anybody right now. So as Arkansas fan, I just want to get in the tournament, see what they can do. I mean, once you're in the dance, you can kind of take a sigh of relief a little bit and just be like, all right, now let's go play some basketball. Memphis, you know, an 8 seed for them sounds about right. I think they'll be dangerous in the tournament. I keep saying that. I just think they will. But with this conference tournament coming up, they could improve that seed quite a bit.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And then when you think about it, just to wrap up the Memphis Tiger Hoops Talk here on the Point Podcast, got Christian Johnston on with me tonight. All things Tiger sports here on Tuesdays here on 4-Star Sports Media. Christian, when you look at the Tiger men's basketball, talk about last season. When you talk about getting to the dance and making and basically having some fun, I think the Memphis team we see this year is better than the team we saw last year. And don't forget, that team last year took Gonzaga to the absolute brink. I think this Memphis basketball team is going to make a lot of noise. I think it starts Friday night, 6 p.m., ESPNU against either UCF or SMU. I don't think it matters who, as you said earlier, I don't think it matters who you play. I think Memphis goes out and gets the win, and I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. I think there's a chip on their shoulder based on that game from Sunday. Yeah. And I mean, if I'm the American Athletic Conference, I'm looking out for Memphis right now. They're hot. They're playing really good basketball at the right time. The current lineup that Penny's got going is really good. They mesh well together. And I'm just really excited about it. But another thing I'm excited for, Crispin, is the Memphis Lady Tigers.
Who are playing right now and are, you know, in a little bit of a battle, it looks like. But a lot of time left.
Yeah, a lot of time left. 2:17 left in the third quarter. Tigers are down 28-26 right now. Just to give you some points here, Amani Jefferson's got six points. Shelby Brown's got 6. Madison Griggs has got 4. Tigers are shooting 24% from the field right now. Can't do that. But gotta improve that. But points in the paint, got 12 points right now in the paint. Points off turnovers are 10. Offensive rebounds have 12. Got to make layups though, Christian. They're 5 of 21 on layups.
Oh,
got to make those.
I know about that. To kind of go back to Arkansas, their layups, they shot terribly on layups against Kentucky. So I know all about that. You've got to capitalize when you get looks down low, especially if you're not a great 3-point shooting team. I'm not sure what the Lady Tigers, what their strength is, but obviously when you get down low under the basket, you want to convert as many times as you can. And just another thing about this tournament, obviously South Florida women, I don't know, are they usually the kings or the queens, I guess I should say, of of American Athletic Conference basketball.
So, man, here's the thing. There was actually there was history made today. Wichita State is the first team to ever defeat a number one seed in the American Athletic Conference tournament.
So they beat South Florida.
They beat South Florida by 2 today, 65-63. And if you're Memphis right now, you fought back. You were down early in this game in Central Florida. You're down by 2. You're the 2 seed in this tournament. So if you win today, you are now the ipso facto favorite for the tournament.
Yeah.
We had a chance to talk with the Cincinnati women's head basketball coach, Michelle Hurd, last night following their loss. Mm-hmm. And I asked her, I said, who do you think is going to win this tournament? And she mentioned South Florida, but she mentioned Memphis. And when she mentioned the Tigers, she said, they're really good. Yeah. But the job that Katrina Merriweather's done, this is her second year, Christian.
Wow.
In her second year in the program, they're setting program records. 11 road wins this year. That's a program record. Conference wins is a program record. 18-9 finishing the season was a program record for them. A best for the last few years. But, they're doing things that hadn't been done in Memphis since the 90s, 92 through 96.
Looks like they're on a 7-game win streak right now.
Yeah, they're rolling right now, man. They had a big win to end the regular season against Tulane. But getting ready to go to the fourth quarter there in Fort Worth. They're in the American Athletic Championship Conference Tournament. But, man, we've been covering them all year here at 4-Star Christian. This women's basketball team, there's been numerous games this year that have been free. You just show up and you can walk in and go watch them.
You can't beat that.
You can't beat it, man. But, man, they've been a lot of fun to cover, and I'm really looking forward to being on that media call tonight, talking with Coach Merriweather, no matter win or lose. Doesn't matter. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting a chance to talk with her tonight post-game. But they've had a special season, Christian, and we had new coaches in basketball. We had a new coach in football recently. Now Memphis has 2 new coaches in baseball and softball. We talked about it last week. As a program, as a university, the athletics of Memphis is on the upward. And another thing that's kind of on the upward, I would say, Tiger football. Tiger football is back. Spring football is here. The Memphis Tiger football team will begin spring football on March 19th. So we're just a mere 12 days away. And then on April 21st at 7 p.m., they will do their Friday Night Stripes, which is their spring game that they do there at Memphis. It'll be there from the Liberty Bank Memorial Stadium, a.k.a. the Liberty Bowl, there in Memphis. But Ryan Silverfield made a statement today. He said that his staff and his program is looking forward to being back on the field. He said that their offseason has been one of development and has been one that he's really looking forward to being able to show the fans what this program can do. Christian, when you look at this Memphis football program, 6-6 last, 2-3 years, lost a good bit of players, in my opinion, brought better players on. I'm not trashing anyone when I say that. But Silverfield's now in his 4th season at the helm. He's going to need some wins this year, right?
Yeah. Watching them last year, they were in just about every game they played, with maybe exception of a few of them. I'll ask you the same question, but my only concern right now is, they can get in position to win games. What do they need to do to kind of seal the deal? What's the weakness that you think needs to be addressed the most? Because I don't think it's a talent issue at Memphis.
No, it's not a talent issue at all. I think that this year you saw 2 new coordinators, 2 brand new schemes. I think that was a learning curve, but I think that as the season moved forward and progressed, what you saw was that program coming together. That defense played really good football to close the season out. The offense is coming together. You've got a quarterback in Seth Hennigan that is getting ready to shatter records at Memphis. You had some issues offensive line. We've had that issue the last couple of years. I think I don't know if it's shored up. I hope it is. But when you look at this team, they've got weapons. You just said it. There's weapons everywhere. Also, by the way, Christian, this might run a little bit longer. Jason Patterson's getting ready to join us. We're going to jump back over and talk some more Tiger hoops. But, Christian, when you look at this football team, Silverfield needs to do it this year.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the schedule, I expect 8 wins.
I mean, all right, so Houston and UCF are gone, right? So, obviously that's going to make the schedule in your favor. Now, obviously, strength of schedule will not go up any, but as a program in Memphis, you want to just try to solidify yourself as the premier program this year in the American Conference. And you want to take advantage of, those teams not being there. And just, you want to see some of these wins start to emerge. You want to see the record improve because we know Memphis, they're right there. They're right there. And with Coach Silverfield, he's a great guy, great coach. There's just, I don't think he's on the hot seat or anything like that. I just think, there's something missing, and I'm sure he'll figure it out. This season, though, I do think is a big one for him, just because, like I mentioned, Houston, UCF leaving the conference, you're kind of expected to be that the top dog in the American Conference, at least in my opinion.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Jason Patterson has just joined the show. Jason, thanks for coming on. We're talking Tiger football. Spring football is here. When you look at Tiger football, Christian, you're right. There's something missing. But what it is that the fan base became spoiled. And I say that as someone
the Cotton Bowl kind of did that.
It was more than that, man. I mean, y'all know, full disclosure, I'm a lifelong Tiger fan. I can talk Tigers from the 90s. So I've been there. I've seen this team suck. So once Fuente took over, a little bit of growing pains at the beginning, and then once he got it going with that Miami Bowl victory to start this current bowl streak that we're on, 9 straight bowls, the Norvell era became one that the expectation was to blow everyone out no matter who it was.
Right.
It didn't matter if it was Alabama coming to town. There was a core group of fans that if Memphis did not score 70 points and did not blow them out of the water,
talk about expectations.
That's any fan base, man.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's crazy what one or two good seasons can do. I feel like there's always a core group of fans who think they can beat anybody.
But it got bad, man. Like but when that starts eking into boosters, that starts eking into people with money, things of that nature. Another issue that I'll just be honest. Another issue that Tiger football has is that once Tiger basketball season starts, you see a lot of the people they don't go to games. They stop coming to football games. There's not that loyalty throughout the season that you really have to have.
Which is weird. I mean, I know Arkansas fans usually they show out to every sporting event, especially when they're good. But even when they're not that great, they tend to back their team. I don't know why that is for Memphis. It may be because the expectations sort of have dropped lately.
I mean, the Christian, there was fans this year, and I don't know if that was factual or not. And Jason, I'm coming to you next, but I don't know if it was factual or not. But I'm boycotting it. I'm not going out. I'm not going to the game as long as Silverfish is still the coach. I'm not going. I'm just not going to do it. I don't care. I'm not paying. They're not getting my money to watch this junk. Yet at this point in time, Memphis was on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah.
I blasted them on this show. If y'all remember correctly, I absolutely blasted them. I didn't care. I was pissed.
Yeah.
But Jason, when you look at this Memphis football program, got some big time schedule changes coming. Got Arkansas coming to town. Got Boise State coming to town next year. Making some big. You're starting another schedule with Southern Miss, an old rival, the old black and blue rivalry that Memphis has had for ages. You got UAB coming to the conference now too. So some schedule changes are going to happen. When you look at this Memphis football schedule, not the strongest. I'll just be brutal, honest. In my opinion, I'm looking at 8 wins on this schedule. But also, I'm a realist, and I just throw the ball out there and go play. Whatever happens, happens. But 9 bowl games. Memphis is the only team in the outside of the group of 5 that has done that. Is that something that Tiger fans should be able to hold their head up?
I do want to go back to something really quick that you pointed out. When the Tigers were scoring 50, 60, 70 points a game, you always had that home run hitter that could flip the field in a minute. Kenny Gainwell, Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
An athlete that's super dynamic, that could change the course of a game on one play only. And I think that may be something that they may be missing this last year or two. When you also talk about the fans that also sit there and bemoan how bad their team is, how they're going to boycott and they're not going to go, I will promise you will find them in the stands every freaking weekend.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be the loudest because they want to be heard, because they think that their voice is the voice of reason, which I find absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I've been a lifelong Razorback fan. Same way. You hear all these guys, and Christian, you can, vouch for this. You hear guys call on the show or whatever program that they listen to, and they will cry, bitch, and moan about how bad their team is, but they will always show up.
The referees is the biggest one too. I mean, the referees are always out to get their team. I just can't get on board with that. Now referees will make bad calls, but they're human, and it's just not. You're not going to see a perfectly called game. You're just not.
You have instant replay. You have the call on the field. You have multiple angles that the game is being looked at, up in the sky, down on the field, and away from the field as well.
They still get it wrong sometimes.
And they still get it wrong sometimes, yes. But here's the other thing. Whenever a fan doesn't have anything else to gripe, cry, or complain about, the next thing that they say is, oh, you know what? If I say something about the referees, I'm going to have 100 people that are going to join right in with me, and I'm not going to be the idiot that's going to be sitting here trying to be the loudest, because I'm going to pull all these other guys with me if I say something about the referees. So they're kind of, in a way, getting some of their frustrations out with the program through the different avenues of blaming referees and playing the blame game. Because when they play the blame game, then they also have somebody that can also kind of back them up a little bit, so they're not out on a limb hanging out there looking like an idiot.
Man, Preach. I'm about to give you a nickname, and I'm going to start calling you Preach, by the way, just so you know. Just so you know. Hey, just to give a quick score update, right now, Lady Tigers are down by 4 points right now with 6:57 to go in the fourth quarter of their first game against Central Florida. Hey, the last time these two teams played, guys, they went to overtime, and it took Memphis fighting in overtime to get the win against them. Go ahead, Chris.
Those teams that aren't expected to do much, UCF, I think they're bottom of the conference. I feel like they always, play extra hard in that conference tournament, because I believe it's the same way in men's. If you win that tournament, you're automatically in the NCAA tournament.
There was an old song back in the day. Jason may remember this. It was Oh crap! They've got a chance if the conference tournament chance because they've got high hopes. Yeah, it was an old song back in the early '90s, maybe even late '80s. Man, it was a little jingle they had for the NCAA tournament, and that was what it's for. It was for those teams that can come out of nowhere, get hot at the right time, get a little help, and you win the conference tournament.
I mean,
You might be.
Jason, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christian.
if UCF is able to knock off Memphis, I know there's a lot of time left. Who's to say they don't go and win it all? Because I mean that's the number 2 team right there, and the Houston, South Florida, as you mentioned earlier, is already out. So yeah, I mean if Memphis loses tonight, there's going to be somebody that wasn't expected to win the tournament come out champs, get that bid.
100% right. Jason, when you look at this Memphis women's basketball program, no one expected this program to be ranked second going into this conference tournament. You look at the job Katrina Merriweather and her staff has done. Her, Abby Jump, brought in her sister as well. But the roster that she's got going, everything's going well. They're down by 5 points right now with 5 minutes to go. But talk a little bit about this Tiger women's basketball team.
I think that what they have to continue to do for the rest of this tournament is get out to a quick start. You can't have consecutive 8-point quarters like they did with so far in this game. You can't compile a 16-point half and expect to win. That is a huge, huge hill to sled up, because not only are you having to play against adversity of you not being able to put the ball in the basket, you're also having to play adversity of stopping the other team and really kind of dragging this thing through the mud. And if the Lady Tigers want to go far in at least the AAC tournament, they're going to have to continually have a quick start, quick first 5-6 minutes right out of the gate, and score more than 8 points in a quarter, because you can't keep continually playing behind the 8 ball, because if you do, eventually that will bite you in the butt, because as you start to move forward in this tournament, the competition gets stiffer and stiffer. And so if you don't jump out to that 5-point or that fast lead, or at least hang with that team through the first quarter or two, there's just no way. Eventually, it wears you down. And having consecutive games and consecutive days, you can't do that. And that's going to be something I'm going to be looking for if they're able to get out of tonight.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And we talked about it. South Florida got knocked off. History was made today when Wichita State knocked off South Florida in Fort Worth. I mentioned it earlier, Jason. I think Memphis, with a win tonight, which they're no pun intended, but they're clawing.
Yeah.
With a win tonight, they are the ipso facto favorite, but you've got to get out to a quick start. You can't score 16 points and a half and expect to be competitive. And then even let's say Memphis wins, moves on, perhaps wins the tournament, for sure can't do that at the NCAA tournament level.
Yeah.
No, you may get away with that at the first game, depending on what your seed is. I mean, hell, look at Arkansas 2 years ago. They go in and they play Wright State as a 3 seed, and they get knocked off by a 14 seed. I'm not saying that Memphis can go in there and do something like that, but it depends on their seeding. If they get into the tournament, where they're going to be seated at, they might be able to survive having a slow quarter starting out, trying to get their feet underneath them. But whenever you get into rounds 2 and 3, that can't happen.
I believe the Memphis women's coach was the coach of Wright State. I mean,
took the words literally out of my mouth. I was going to say, funny story. Katrina Merriweather was the Wright State head coach. Yeah, that's her. She's now the Memphis head coach.
And you all doubt me that I didn't know that? I was just serving it up on the platter for y'all.
Yeah, you did good, man. You did good.
Hey, you got me, brother. You got me. But hey, guys, let me tell you something, man. This has been a great show. I've had a great time talking Tiger sports with you guys tonight. We got a press conference to jump on here shortly. It's going to be a lot of fun to jump on it. Gonna have the Memphis and the Central Florida head coaches on. Jason and I will be on. And Christian, if you want to get on, you can jump on too. But we'll have quotes, videos, and more. And also, get ready because Just Off Markham will be here Thursday night. And Jason, I'll give you the floor, man. Go ahead and plug your show.
So Thursday night at 7 o'clock, I've got a real special guest. His name's Greg Thomas. He's former quarterback of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Awesome.
He was in school from 84 to 87. And 1985, he did something that had never been done in Arkansas before. He was the first African-American starting quarterback for the university. Now, the first African-American quarterback played in 1976, but Greg was the very first starting quarterback at University of Arkansas that broke the color barrier. He's got a book out. You can find it on Just Off Markham. There's a link on there too. And we'll be talking to Greg from 7 to 7:30 on Thursday night.
I want to give a little shout out too. I mean, that interview you did with Matt, man, if you haven't checked that out as well, go check it out. It's going to be there forever. I mean, you don't get to see many one-on-one interviews with Matt Zimmerman, man. He's great at what he does. He's Chuck's right-hand man on the basketball calls, and I love how he, listening to him on the air, how he just analyzes the game. And great interview by Jason with him, and go check him out.
Appreciate it. Most definitely, man. Most definitely. Just to give a couple of score updates real quick. Bottom of the 6th inning right now, Memphis and Louisiana Monroe are tied up. Tigers got 2-2. Bottom of the 6th, got runners on the corners for Louisiana Monroe, and then we are under 3 minutes with the Lady Tigers trailing by 3 right now. 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go. That's going to be a hell of a basketball game at the end. Get on ESPN Plus right now. Jump on there and watch it. But for Christian Johnston, Jason Patterson, I am Wes Pruitt. Thank you as always for watching and listening, and go Tigers.